Dad and daughter vanished climbing mate Hooker. 11 years later, their cliff camp is found. Garrett Beckwith, 45, civil engineer weekend gear nerd, was the sort of Wyoming dad who knew every page number in the Freedom of the Hills manual. His daughter, Dela, 19, lanky scholarship climber for the University of Wyoming Alpine Club, matched his intensity knot for knot. Father and daughter drove a dust-blasted green Ford F-150 out of Lander before Dawn Country Station, humming 2 cups of gas station black cooling in the cup holders. They waved at the bait shop owner on Highway 28 the Universal Ranger Salute in Fremont County. In the bed of the truck, 2 brand-new 70-meter dry ropes, an ultralight Black Diamond Portal Ledge freeze-dried Chili Mac for 5 nights, and 2 identical Inmarsat satellite phones the lifeline. Any Wind River regular respects more than a flask of bourbon. Every mile, North cell service bled away, replaced by the hiss of AM talk radio and the endless pine-filtered silence that men in this part of America call church. Garrett's plan, texted to his wife, Marianne, and pinned on the lodge bulletin board in Big Sandy opening. Approach Monday. Establish high camp. Tuesday afternoon. Call Tuesday. 7 or 0 p.m. Sharp. Summit push. Wednesday. Out by Friday. 7 p.m. Tuesday slid past like a black bear in twilight. Marianne stared at her cordless handset in the ranch kitchen, a world of polished antler handles and John Wayne mugs. Only the fridge motor answered. At 7:12 p.m., she told herself satellite lag. At 8:30 p.m., she microwaved coffee, left it untouched. By Wednesday noon, no ping, no chirp, no data burst. She dialed the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. Her voice was flat Wyoming stoic, the kind that makes deputies pay attention even faster than a scream. Deputy Corbin reached Big Sandy Trailhead after 4 hours of washboard road and Hank Williams static. The lot smelled of lodgepole and cold dust. Garrett's F-150 waited beneath a film of yellow aspen pollen doors, unlocked standard mountain etiquette. Anything worth stealing is already on your back. Corbin leaned inside. 2 topo maps folded with surgeon precision, a half-eaten elk jerky stick, and in the glove box, both satellite phones, full battery, full bars forgotten. He radioed dispatch, be advised, both SATs here powered unused. Mark this a high-risk missing. That sentence carried weight in cowboy country where men often pride themselves on needing no help. If Garrett Beckwith left those phones, something larger than pride misstepped on that granite wall. Mount Hooker is no Instagram hike. It's a 500-foot tooth of vertical orthogny pitched deep in the Popo Agie wilderness, a place the Shoshone once called home of the restless spirits. Climbers respect it, the way rodeo riders respect the 8-second buzzer finish quick or end broken. The south face a 1 Honalan to 800-foot sheet of silver hosts, fewer than 10 documented routes. Weather shifts hourly. Storms come sideways at 70 knots. Rescue helicopters can't hug those walls once September snow loads the ridges. Every ranch kid in Lander learns that lesson before he's old enough to ride shotgun. By Thursday dawn, the trailhead buzzed like a county fair of headlamps and steaming cups. Fremont SAR techs in blaze orange. Volunteers from the University Alpine Club. A Vietnam-era Bell UH-1 on loan from the State Guard, its diesel thrum rolling across alpine meadows. Alistair Finch Garrett's leash-thick forearms and silvering beard drove overnight from Jackson with his own rack of cams. He spat chew into a paper cup and pointed at the map. Garrett likes obscure things. He'll have chased a neglected area, not the tourist line. Team split air grid dog unit along the Fremont Creek drainage climbers assigned to the south face couloirs named in half-forgotten guidebooks. Snow flurries knifed in by mid-afternoon. The Huey grounded. Radios crackled with static thick as prairie dust. Daylight shrank to a cold fist. No trace. By day 10, the official search scaled back. Reporters from Denver filmed the last chopper lifting away pine needles spinning in rotor wash like confetti at a funeral. Locals labeled it the Hooker Vanish. Around Lander campfires, mule deer hunters swapped theories, crevasse, cougar cult. The unexplained is a campfire's favorite spice. Marianne kept porch lights burning on her ranch in Red Canyon. Motion sensors clicked at magpies and moon shadows for the next 11 years. Why would a father who triple checks every carabiner forget the very devices built to save his daughter? Why did 2 climbers vanish, leaving no rope threads, no crampon scrapes, not even a candy wrapper, until discovering climbers in 2024 found a cliffside tomb, That cliff camp and what lay zipped inside will change every rule you trust about preparedness, paternal devotion, and the Price Mountain's demand for hubris. But that revelation waits. For now, the Wind River night closes like a vault, the trailhead empty except for a dusty F-150 and 2 silent satellite phones glowing useless in the dark. Wyoming in September tastes like iron on the tongue, thin air, dry lodgepole smoke, and the promise of snow above 10,000 feet. Search Day 11 greeted the crews with sleet that hissed off nylon jackets like snake spit. Deputy Corbin's incident board propped inside a canvas command tent filled fast with colored yarn that mapped hope more than science. Red lines traced helicopter sweeps, blue pins marked dog team loops, green circles were last chance eyes where binoculars had scanned every square inch of granite. A single black X hovered over Mount Hooker's south-southwest pillar, the logical descent couloir. Finch tapped that X with a calloused finger. Garrett would have funneled here after the summit pack. Storm hits, he bails down the gully, not over the ice wall. It's the only sane retreat. Yet 2 full rappel teams had already broomed that chute, no fresh anchor, no blood smear, not even a dropped cam. A mountain goat skull, yes. A human clue, none. On day 12, K9 Juno, a wiry German shepherd flown in from Cheyenne, caught scent near a high tarn called Devil's Basin, an hour east of any rational route. Handlers followed her nose up a talus ramp until the weather curled into a whiteout and the GPS squawked lost satellite link. They bivvied among hoodoo boulders, radio crackles fading into the wind. By dawn, Juno's interest had cooled. She sniffed, sneezed, and backtracked downhill like the scent had evaporated. Old SAR hands know mountains can store smells in ice pockets, then exhale them miles away. The report went on Corbin's board with a yellow question mark. Back in Red Canyon, Marianne Beckwith slept on the living room couch phone on her chest. Ranch neighbors delivered casseroles until freezer space ran out. A Baptist deacon prayed rain would hold so search flights could resume. A Nat Geo podcaster left 3 voicemails begging for an interview. Marianne deleted them without listening. At night, she paced the hardwood, stopping only to stare at Garrett's fly rod mounted above the mantel, one more thing that would never reel another cutthroat. By day 15, the Wind River shuddered. A rogue Pacific trough slammed the range with 30-inch dumps above tree line. Helicopter blades iced, fixed wings diverted to Rock Springs. The SAR commander, Earl Uncle Wainwright, gathered volunteers inside the mess tent. Official op goes to limited reactive at 1800 hours. We stand down before we body bag rescuers. If new intel pops, we launch point searches. Otherwise, winter owns it. Tiers formed in some bearded corners of the tent, but no one argued. In Wyoming, you don't negotiate with September. They struck camp loaded sleds and left the trailhead to silence except for Finch. He wasn't ready to put the mountain in storage. Finch recruited 2 lander climbers, Caleb Tex Marston, a diesel mechanic built like fence wire, and Miguel Ortega, a Latino math teacher whose forearms looked carved from basalt. They signed no forms, accepted no county funding, and told no reporters. Their gear list read 3 ropes, alpine hammer, freeze-dried biscuits, a pint of tin cup whiskey, and a Polaroid of Garrett grinning under a wind-blasted ball cap. They hiked in under a sky like poured cement and established an illegal snow cave below Devil's Basin. For 5 days, they probed hidden chimneys, rapped blind slots, and cursed in 3 languages. On the 6th night, Tex emerged from the cave holding a scrap of blue nylon webbing the width of a bootlace, frayed by UV but still knotted in a textbook double fisherman's Garrett's signature knot. Found wedged behind a chalkstone at 11,700 feet, Tex said. Could be anybody's, but it felt deliberate. Finch pocketed the relic. No GPS ping, no photo, just a relic and a migraine of possibilities. By October 3rd, a high-pressure ridge sealed the Wind Rivers under 6 feet of powder. Any object not neon orange or moving was gone until June. Finch and crew limped back to civilization, frost-nipped, half-starved, but alive. They mailed the webbing to Fremont County Evidence with a scribbled note, might be something, might be nothing, but it's all we have. The nylon-tested, generic same model REI sold by the mile. No DNA, no distinct wear pattern. Corbin filed it in an envelope marked Artifact B behind the incident board, now folded in a courthouse basement. The Hooker vanish became paperwork. Winter rodeo season began. Bartenders at the Cowfish Bar and Grill swapped Beckwith theories like fly patterns, avalanche, shoot, murder-suicide. Secret uranium claim gone south. A conspiracy blogger from Boise insisted Garrett faked his death to dodge an IRS audit, ignoring the fact the engineer had no liens and a 780 credit score. Netflix true crime scout sniffed around Lander but left when Marianne refused cameras. Come spring, local said the mountain will cough up something. They always do, but mountains don't keep diaries, just bones and weather-bleached webbing. 2014, no melt clues. 2015, a climber reports an unclaimed cam at 12,000 feet too rusted for ID. 2016, a fisherman nets a chalk bag in Fremont Creek. Brand common, no initials. By 2017, even the gossip cooled. A new tragedy, the Great Basin Lightning 5, grabbed headlines when weekend hikers fried like moths on a shoulder of Temple Peak. Yet Marianne's porch light stayed on. For when they walked back, she said to the meter reader, already knowing the answer. 11 years later, a pair of Gen Z dirtbags hunting unclimbed seams swing onto a forgotten traverse and glimpse a portal edge swaying like a rusted swing set 400 to 500 feet above the talus. What they unzip on that ledge will send federal forensics, a drone biologist, and every couch sleuth in North America into overdrive, and will finally pin map tax 17 through 23 on Deputy Corbin's long folded board. It will also answer one half of the Beckwith riddle while doubling the darkness of the other. But that's tomorrow. Tonight, the Hooker stars burn steadily above snowfields, and somewhere beneath them, a father's root and a daughter's last breath wait frozen. Chloe Vance and Ben B.C. Carter rolled into Big Sandy Trailhead on a bug-splattered Subaru Crosstrek the night of August 30th, 2024, exactly 11 years and 2 days after Garrett and Dela Beckwith disappeared. They weren't chasing ghosts. They were chasing a first ascent, a thin seam on Hooker's east rib, the internet still labeled probable blank. They were the new breed alpine TikTok darlings who drank cold brew from bike bottles and climbed in neon sun hoodies, but they had Wyoming manners. They tipped hats to the bronze bust of Sacagawea at the ranger kiosk scrawled Vance Carter, E-Rib, ETA out 9-3 on the log sheet, then crashed in the back of the Subaru with a pit bull mutt named Doge snoring between them. At first light, they hoofed 21 miles of granite slab switchbacks and beaver-chewed marsh. BC carried the portal edge, Chloe the drone. Doge padded beside them with a bear bell jangling off his harness. In the cobalt dawn, Hooker's east face looked like a cathedral wall gouged by glaciers unbroken, except for a faint diagonal weakness near mid-height that was their line. They staged gear at a moraine camp, fired the jet boil for ramen, and launched Chloe's folding DJI. The drone buzzed outward, feeding 4K video to her phone. 0 bolts. She's pure, Chloe grinned. Let's paint it. BC tapped the screen. What's that shadow dead left pitch? Sa6A small alcove, barely a recess, showed a rectangular outline draped in gray. Chloe zoomed until pixels cracked. Could be a rock scar, could be an old haul bag. Either way, curiosity tucked itself in her frontal cortex like a fishing hook. Day 2. They jugged fixed lines to pitch 4. Hooker threw wind like a baseball pitcher, 40-mile gusts that flicked ropes against the stone with shotgun cracks. The climbing was C2 hook moves on pegmatite edges, serious but doable. At noon, clouds brewed over the Tetons 70 miles west. A rolling thunder burped across the basin. They eyed their topo doodle next bolt line, drifted right, but the mystery alcove sat left across blank-looking stone. BC shrugged. 50-50 were beat by lightning anyway. Let's detour. Chloe led the traverse, drilling 2 expansion bolts, click hiss, wine cold, metal biting virgin slab. 20 meters out, she hit the first relic, a rusted quarter-inch raw from the 1980s hangar. Crusted webbing bleached to bone. 2 more bolts, equally antique, angled toward the alcove. Somebody had been here once. Old school bail line BC muttered. The alcove proved deeper than the drone implied, a 5-foot-high pocket blackened by lichen. And there, hanging by sun-bleached slings, was a black diamond cliff cabana fabric shredded on the windward hem but still inflated by the breeze like a ghost lung. Chloe's GoPro blinked red as she swung onto the ledge. The frame creaked but held. Inside a coil of 9mm rope, stiff as PVC, a cracked blue dry bag, and a dust-covered red mummy sleeping bag cinched tight zipper, stopped inches below the hood. Lightning rumbled again closer. BC yelled over the wind, "Open it or leave." Years of slick YouTube risk had taught them camera's first feelings later. Chloe unzipped. A sweet rot odor escaped sun-cured fabric and something older. She folded back the top to find fleece jacket wadding, and beneath a skull-bone, chalk-white teeth in tack sockets empty. A lone strand of auburn hair clung like silk to the temporal ridge. Chloe's breath hitched, fogging her sunglasses. She snapped 3 pictures, zipped the bag, clipped her phone to her harness, and retreated to the bolt line without speaking. Both climbers anchored, hearts pounding against harness belay loops. BC swallowed. Hooker just got real. They'd taken a wilderness first responder course in Moab 6 months prior. Step 1 for body discovery document mark do not disturb. A storm cell shredded the skyline, granite hummed with static. BC scribbled GPS from his Sunto onto a piece of tape stuck to an energy gel wrapper, lat 4307. Long 109, 11 800. He wedged it into a crack beside the traverse bolt. Chloe shot a 360-degree panorama. Then they wrapped 5 pitches through hailstones the size of Chickpea's dog, whining at the base as thunder cracked open the basin like a rifle. Back in the tent, soaked and shivering, they powered Doge for warmth and weighed options. Nightfall now. Extraction impossible. They texted the coordinates via Garmin InReach to Fremont County SAR, a message that popped onto Deputy Corbin's retired flip phone, still on alert for 406 SOS pings. His coffee went cold all over again. Saturday dawn, Corbin, now a gray-stubbled lieutenant, sped the county Tahoe down the same washboard he'd driven a decade earlier. Beside him sat Detective Erin Rossi, 30 crime scene whiz fresh from Casper. She clutched the Beckwith cold case binder like a holy relic. A Jenny Lake SAR helicopter idled on the meadow helipad. Rotors blew dust devils through subalpine fur. Rossi briefed the pilot, suspended ledge, possible human remains, dangerous updrafts. He nodded. Hooker doesn't give freebies. SAR climbers Frank Delgado and Chelsea Reed inserted first, fixing a redundant anchor above the alcove. Helmet cams streamed live to Rossi's tablet at base camp. Half the county watched over her shoulder, ranchers, state troopers, a BLM botanist on lunch break. Fremont never forgets a mystery. On screen, Delgado's boot edged onto the portal edge. He said fabric is BD, early 2000s UV toast. Reed focused her lens coil of 9mm rope label faded, but sheath color a once bright violet. Rossi called up a 2013 inventory. Garrett carried a sterling nano violet 9mm match. They cataloged contents with painter's flags. The blue dry bag held empty freeze-dried pouches, a water filter, half a journal soaked into pulp. The sleeping bag they left sealed for the lab exam. Detached from the ledge, it slid into an orange sked stretcher hoisted to the chopper belly. The portal frame itself came last, strapped into a cargo net. When the Huey thudded back to Big Sandy, Rossi's forensics van hummed like a cold morgue on wheels. She stared at the body bag, weightless yet heavy, and whispered, "Welcome home, Dela. No DNA needed." The strawberry blonde braid caught in the hood told enough. Hope and dread mingled like diesel and campfire smoke. Finding Dela solved half the riddle, but birthed new beasts. Where was Garrett? Why abandon the radios? Why the improvised mortuary? Rossi opened Dela's bag in a field tent under fluorescent lamps. The skeleton lay curled, tibia shattered in a spiral break, bone edges smoothed by time. A father's emergency splint 2 tent stakes and duct tape still hugged the limb. She noted accessory cord looped through the mummy bag hood, tied with a double fisherman's, to the portal edge rail preventing windroll. Protective, intentional. Inside a pocket, she found a laminated prayer card of St. Christopher and a folded "Write in the Rain" notepad page, barely legible. Dad went for help. Storm coming quick. I trust him. Tell Mom I wasn't scared. Ink smeared but clear enough to punch Rossi's gut. Finch, now haunted, Elder stood behind the caution tape when Rossi briefed next steps. He produced the UV fried webbing he'd mailed in 2013. Rossi compared knot fibers to those on Dela's bag. Same brand, same diameter, maybe the same roll. SAR planned a microgrid search below the traverse line drones LiDAR cadaver dogs once thaw allowed. But Hooker gave a new taunt. Early September, snows dusted ridges like powdered sugar. They had maybe 10 days before deep winter slammed the vault shut for another cycle. 6 days later, fate delivered. A university biologist flying a drone to count bighorn ewes in a box canyon east of Hooker snagged phantom bone-white shapes on 4K. He geotagged the coordinates and emailed Rossi late at night possible anthropogenic remains. Sayar dropped by the long line at dawn. A faded blue windbreaker shredded, fragments of climbing harness, and a jawbone plate titanium stamped with a tiny code linking to Lander Medical Center records Garrett's post-cycling accident surgery 1998. The father had fallen into a dead-end talus basin miles off any descent gully. Disoriented, hypothermic, perhaps concussed. He died chasing a rescue he would never deliver. Mystery nearly closed except the satellite phones. Rossi drove to the impound she'd opened the F-150 glove box frozen in county storage. Both units are still there, lithium batteries bloated but intact. She powered one on via bench supply. The log showed 0 outgoing pings after August 26, 2013, meaning they were never powered up on trail. Why, in Garrett's home workshop inventory, Rossi found a handwritten checklist, sat phones, glove box until trailhead case you don't forget. A safe brain fade. Or did an unforeseen crisis at the parking lot redirect his focus before he remembered the phones? No evidence emerged, no prints, no sabotage, only conjecture. An eternal hangfire in the narrative. The simplest gear is useless if forgotten, and that more than altitude or avalanche is what keeps the Wind Rivers wild. The titanium jaw plate sat under lab lights like a piece of lunar debris. Detective Rossi photographed it, logged the serial, then phoned Lander Medical Center. Within an hour, a fax whined through OP98 1127 patient Garrett Allen Beckwith, TI6L4V mandibular fixator, length 37 millimeters. The match was court grade. The Wind Rivers had surrendered their final name. SAR analysts married old GPS track logs, barometric recordings, and 2013 weather archives. The reconstructed path looked deranged. Garrett left Dela's ledge, descended the intended gully for 2 pitches, then veered east directly into the storm cell that had grounded the rescue chopper. Lightning strikes archived by no AA painted a red blotch exactly over Devil's Basin that night. Hypothesis, blinded by sleet, he followed a phantom drainage echo, lost altitude cues dropped into the wrong canyon, then cliffed out in the cul-de-sac where his bones now lay. Alistair Finch stared at the overlay. "Smartest climber I ever tied in with," he muttered. But a smart man lost in a whiteout is just meat with a compass. Sheriff Corbin refused to phone the news. He drove the 86 miles himself. He handed Marianne Beckwith a plain envelope containing 2 Polaroids, one of the prayer card, one of the jaw plate against a ruler. She pressed them to her heart like warm stones. That weekend, she insisted on riding shotgun in the county Tahoe back to the trailhead porch light finally switched off. At the parking lot, she walked to the F-150, ran her hand over the dusty dash, and whispered, "You never forgot anything, Gare." What happened here? No answer, only the metallic ping of a cooling engine 11 years cold. On September 14th, under a sky-scrubbed crystal clear, 50 people hiked to Hooker's Alpine Meadow carrying gear and memories. SAR techs fixed a permanent stainless plaque at the base of the east rib, Garrett and Dela. Beckwith father and daughter climbers dreamers lost, 2013, found 2024. The mountain keeps what we lend, it returns what we earn. Finch led a rope length of silence. Doge the mutt who'd sniffed history sat by the plaque and howled, once high mournful, then silent. That night, around a lodgepole fire, speculation reignited. Why leave 2 satellites in the truck? Overconfidence, they planned a casual approach day intending to unpack electronics at high camp, but storm timing derailed routine. Distraction, a mechanical problem, loose tailgate, missing nut, pulled Garrett's attention. He meant to retrieve the phones after tightening the load. Weight at 5 ounces each. Unlikely. Simple brain lapse, even meticulous minds misfire under pre-trip adrenaline. SAR Commander Wainwright passed a flask. People want cosmic reasons, he said, but the wild usually kills through human typo one bad line in an otherwise perfect program. In late October, the Fremont County coroner signed the certificate's accidental death by environmental exposure for both climbers. Rossi's final 22-page brief noted no crime, no negligence beyond the forgotten devices. Insurance paperwork cleared. Marianne donated the unused policies to Wyoming Search and Rescue Council. Before boxing evidence, Rossi paused at the SAT phones. She replaced swollen batteries, pressed power. The screen lit turquoise one last time, defaulting to set time date. She exhaled. Too late, she told the device, shut it off, and logged it as Artifact E, disuse. Spring 2025 topo guides list the Vance Carter line as 11-year Traverse 5. 11. RA3 8 pitches graded PG-13 for psychological exposure adjacent to memorial site. Climbers now pause at pitch 5, clip the antique rawl, and tap the stainless plaque with a Carabiner Wyoming's version of a prayer wheel. At the Cowfish Bar, a framed photo of Garrett and Dela hangs above the elk rack. Under it, a Sharpie note from Finch reads, "Double check the simple stuff." The Beckwith saga ends without villains or buried gold, only a father's resolve, a daughter's trust, and a mountain's indifferent calculus. The raw hook for every man sipping cheap bourbon and mapping his next weekend epic is this: preparation beats bravado, but memory beats both. Because leaving salvation in a glove box is easier than most of us dare admit. When winter lifted its lid in May 2025, the first permit season in Hooker's shadow felt different, not quieter, reverent. Below the trailhead kiosk, a fresh tin box appeared stenciled Beckwith check. Inside, laminated cards that read 1. Are your comms on your back too? Does somebody know your return hour 3? Will your not outlive you? Climbers initialed the cards before lacing boots. No ranger order, pure peer pressure. True crime producer Kira Holt released The Silent Phone's 8 episodes triple-digit ad CPM. Downloads exploded, but so did pushback. Old guard alpinists flooded Reddit threads, turn the mountain to a myth but keep the safety lesson. They coined a tag, Jatiaudier du the Beck, with a 5-point buddy drill recited at crag parking lots from Joshua Tree to the Gunks. By July, REI printed the checklist on every rental helmet strap. Marianne took settlement money and founded Line 3, a micro-grant that buys satellite messengers for low-income outdoor clubs. Her first bulk order, 200 Garmin Minis, sold to Blackfeet youth guides at cost. She declined podcast royalties, but mailed every donor a patch of stylized Portal Edge over crossed tent stakes captioned, "Check the simple stuff." Alistair Finch, 60 and sinewy, returned to Hooker on the anniversary. He soloed the 11-year Traverse at sunrise, clipped the antique rawl, tapped the memorial plate, and left a violet 9mm loop threaded through the bolt, no note. Rangers spotted his headlamp descending at 2 a.m. Paid my tab, he said, then drove back to Jackson Radio, off. Fremont County adopted Garrett's rule. Any SAR call-out where forgotten comms are proven adds a $500 gear negligence surcharge. Controversial, yes, until 2 climbers in August triggered SOS with fresh sat phones provided by Line 3. Both survived a rockfall that snapped their femur and faith. They paid nothing. The phones had been on them, not in the rig. Summer storms polished the stainless plaque to mirror finish. Every time lightning struck the east rib, guides swore the metal sang, a high ping like quick draws clinking. Superstition grew, touch the plaque, double check, you're not live to brag. Ignore it, and Hooker might audit your margin. In bars from Lander to LA, the story condenses to one cautionary sentence whispered over whiskey. They had everything except what they left behind. A sentence that weighs about the same as 2 satellite phones forgotten in a glove box and just heavy enough to make most men pat their harness one more time before stepping into the vertical. Mount Hooker looks the same from a distant silver wall, blue shadow, yet everyone who hikes Big Sandy now feels the phantom hand that grabs the shoulder and whispers, "Double check." The Beckwith mystery is technically closed, but ripples keep moving like pressure cracks beneath lake ice long after the rock is tossed. In December 2025, Rossi seals her last evidence carton 2 in Marsat, phones dead, a coffee-stained topo, the titanium jaw plate. She adds a post-it for future archivists, solved by gravity, not by malice. Lesson system failure starts with a 5-ounce omission. She clicks the lid signs, the chain of custody, and feels the case slip from her adrenaline circuits into that quiet shelf where unsolved questions hum forever. Outdoor Gear brand Black Iron commissions data scientists to build Beckwith Score, a risk calculator that multiplies. If the number tops 30, the app pings your contacts and maps an exit. Download spikes after an AREI newsletter calls it Wilderness Seatbelt. The University of Wyoming Alpine Club renames the East Rib finish Dela's last pitch. New bolts, bright gold, led to a stance where climbers read her smeared journal line etched into steel, "Tell Mom." I wasn't scared. Ropes hang quiet for a moment, then the next leader starts upward, feeling both smaller and braver. On the second summer, without porch light, Marianne drives to the edge of Red Canyon at dusk. She sits on the tailgate, nursing thermos coffee, watching satellites crawl across the Wyoming sky like slow rescue flares. She doesn't cry. She does, however, power on a brand new InReach Mini, send a canned OK to her sister, and smile at the irony. Guides repeat a mantra before every multi-pitch. Phones forecast, faithful not. Phones on body, not in truck. Forecast printed, not only cached. Not checked by partner, not ego. They call it the 3 F's, easy to teach, harder to forget. Spring, 2026, a small group hikes in stealth at night, climbs the 11-year traverse by headlamp. At the plaque, they open a film canister, pour gray dust into the mountain wind, and clip a violet sling next to the stainless plate. Finch wanted no obituary, only altitude. Wish granted. The Cowfish Bar keeps pouring Hooker Highball Tin Cup Whiskey Glacier Water Single Cube. Every toast ends the same way, to the simple mistake you'll never make. Men nod, feel their pockets for beacons and schedule dental work they've been putting off. Mortality is contagious when served neat. Climbers say on windless nights you can hear 2 faint clicks on the south face, the closed bat wings of a portal ledge still swaying somewhere in memory, and the snap of a glove box latch finally shut. Mount Hooker, an indifferent judge, has finished its cross-examination. It gave back the bodies, kept the mystery of the phones, and wrote a final footnote across Wyoming culture. Preparedness is mortal. Memory is fragile. Granite is forever. Those who step onto its flanks tomorrow will tether themselves to that verdict, one double fisherman's knot at a time.